The same things that'll make you laugh, Birdland, will make you cry. It's not all doom and gloom, but it's not how I expected the first day of on-field workouts for pitchers and catchers as spring training has officially begun. I didn't expect this to be the headline. As one of my worst fears for the 2024 Baltimore Orioles, injuries, which can derail any team in any sport, seem to be affecting the Baltimore Orioles early in their campaign for the 2024 season. We got news. We got some injuries to report. I'm going to give you my analysis and what this means for the Baltimore Orioles and some of their key players as we head towards the 2024 Major League Baseball season. Back again on the channel with more Orioles coverage. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, hit that bell. More Orioles content coming to you right now, right here on the Flex On Podcast, right after this. Berlin, Flex Zone family, it's your boy, God's favorite host, back here on the channel with more Orioles news and coverage. Kind of, in a sense, breaking news. You may have heard of it by now by the time this video hits your airways or hit your sub boxes, but kind of caught me by surprise when I did read it because we did not hear any of this mentioned heading into the spring training, heading into the season as we're ramping up for it in about a month and a half. Orioles dealing with multiple injuries to not only their pitching staff, but to one of their best players overall. This is according to ESPN. I'm going to read it. We can talk about it, break it down. Orioles Kyle Bradish to start season on injured list with elbow sprain. Baltimore Orioles right-hander Kyle Bradish will start the season on the injured list because of a sprained UCL in his pitching elbow. Bradish's elbow sprain was one of several injuries announced on Thursday, as Mike Elias did talk to the media as the team is holding and conducting their first workout of spring training. Also, this was just as revealing and potentially alarming. Star infielder, reigning AL Rookie of the Year, one of the faces of the franchise, a guy who could potentially be in the MVP conversation in the American League. Infielder who can do it all, third base, shortstop, and play Gold Glove caliber defense at both. Gunnar Henderson is dealing with an oblique injury and left-hander. Not only that, there's more, like they say on late night television. Left-hander John Means, who I just did a video about the other day, is one of the possible breakout candidates for the Orioles pitching staff. John Means is a month behind Baltimore's other starting pitchers and likely won't be ready for opening day. So Kyle Bradish dealing with the UCL sprain. Gunnar Henderson with an oblique, and John Means with, looks like he's a month behind and won't be ready for opening day. Elias told reporters, and I quote, "Everything is pointing in the right direction for Bradish, who received a platelet-rich plasma injection in his elbow and will begin a throwing program on Friday." Although he did not offer a specific timeline for Bradish's return, Elias said he expects the hard-throwing right-hander to pitch for the Orioles in 2024. Elias offered similar optimism when asked about Henderson, the 2023 American League Rookie of the Year. Henderson will likely miss 2 to 3 weeks, but is expected to be ready for opening day, according to Elias, who described Henderson's injury as really typical for early spring training. The Orioles' timeline was not as promising for Means, whose offseason pitching program was delayed due to the elbow injury that he forced him to miss last year's division series. Remember, Means didn't make the roster for the division series, so they couldn't even use him in the playoffs. Orioles manager Brandon Hyde acknowledged that because of the delay, he is expecting Means to start the season on the injured list. Elias also announced that top catching prospect Samuel Basallo has a stress fracture in his right elbow and won't start throwing until April. The Orioles will plan to use Basallo as a designated hitter during spring training, but he won't return to catching until April at the earliest. Bradish, age 27, went 12-7 last year, 2.83 ERA over 30 starts, which was a breakout 2023. He is a cornerstone of the Orioles rotation, strengthened by the acquisition of Corbin Burns. Bradish did finish fourth in the AL Cy Young as well. Without Bradish and Means, who pitched in just 4 games last season, that is Means, as part of his recovery from 2022 Tommy John surgery, the AL East defending champion Baltimore Orioles have 2 opening rotation spots in the starting rotation, their pitching rotation, as they now have Corbin Burns. This bumps Grayson Rodriguez up to number 2 and Dean Kramer up to number 3. Tyler Wells and Cole Irvin both have starting experience, and Elias acknowledged that the Orioles will be open to adding another pitcher to their rotation before the start of the season. I said, and I like to wait to do previews because I was going to start pushing out some previews to you guys. I was going to start pushing out the content, breaking down the bullpen, breaking down the starting rotation, breaking down the infield, the outfield, the managerial staff, and Brandon Hyde as a whole, Mike Elias, and all those guys. But this is why you wait. Spring training is a time where a lot of guys are ramping up their workouts, are ramping up their overall baseball exhibition. So the Gunnar Henderson oblique thing, I think he dealt with something similar. It may have been an oblique. You can let me know in the comments last year. So it could be a 2 to 3 week thing. I think Gunnar will be fine. Let's say worst case it is 3 weeks. That puts him back in mid-March. That puts him back right on track to be ready by opening day. Now, could we see Gunnar Henderson have a slow start like he did last year for the first couple of weeks? Last year was like really April and May. He did struggle, then he picked it up heading into the All-Star break. I think Gunnar will be fine. If anything, he can DH. He doesn't have to play in the field, and we can move other pieces around, a lot of position versatility on his team. Let's just make sure he's healthy. I think he will be. You give him 3, maybe even 4 weeks. You just shut him down for spring training, and you just bring him back for opening day and maybe place him at DH to start out if need be. But the pitching staff injuries, and every pitching staff in Major League Baseball deals with this, so I don't want to play victim or sit on here and cry, but Bradish, Means, who I thought was actually going to have a good bounce back season. I thought Bradish would continue to stack on what he did. It's important now. You did get Corbin Burns, which is great. You have Grayson Rodriguez, who I think will have a big year, who can be your number 2. You have Dean Kramer at number 3, but no Bradish, who I don't know. A sprained UCL can be tricky. I think this could be an injury that could last a couple of weeks, and it could be something that lingers of all of 2024, and God forbid, could, I don't know, affect him the entire season. When it comes to John Means, he's a month behind. So let's say a month from today, it's February 15th. We're looking at March 15th before he is even able to start his pitching program like he would in spring training. So are we looking at John Means sometime in maybe April, May? Are they bringing him along slowly? With his injury to the same arm that he had Tommy John surgery on last year? I don't know. And that leaves, like I said, 2 holes in the starting rotation. Now you can throw in a guy like Tyler Wells, who I'm cool with being in the starting rotation, and Cole Irvin. Cole Irvin was a little disappointing last season, but now you take those guys out of the bullpen, which I thought would have been the strength of this team with having Tyler Wells, who can do middle relief, long relief, set up and close, and Cole Irvin, who can give you that lefty presence. You now have to really put both of these guys in the starting rotation because you don't have much else outside of that to replace Bradish and Means. As I mentioned, I'm not too worried about Gunnar. I think Gunnar will be ready by opening day, but I'm a little hesitant to say Bradish will be. I'm going to lean right now, just from what I'm seeing, as towards maybe not. He may start the season on the IL for 10 days. And I think means we're looking at an April, May at the earliest. And that's best case in my opinion. Just going off of what I know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know any of this. And if you know any of this better than me, you can comment down below. Sound off. It's yours. The comment section, we can talk about it. But that's 2 holes in your rotation. Now, there are some pitchers out there that the Orioles could go after. I've been a Blake Snell guy. I've been saying we should go after Blake Snell before Corbin Burns, and hell, I'll even say it today. Go after Blake Snell right now. It's spring training. He doesn't have a job. He is not going to say desperate because I'm sure he's not hurting for money because he's got guaranteed contracts for baseball, but playing potentially for the Orioles, a team that is favored in the American League East, favored in the American League to get to the World Series. You pair yourself with the Corbin Burns, with the Grayson Rodriguez. Bradish hopefully comes back. Means hopefully comes back. You got Wells in the mix. You got Irvin. Who better is out there to add to this pitching staff? You really don't have the pieces to add from within, as a lot of the guys are still on their way up from double, triple A, high A, single A. We've seen a lot of these guys in the past, the Keegan Aikens. We've seen, like I said, we've seen Cole Irvin. We've seen Tyler Wells. I'll give you Tyler Wells to start. I'm cool with that. I like what I've seen out of him the first half of the season and when he came back after being sent down to the minor leagues to rejuvenate. But knowing that we're going to have these holes in the rotation, like Elias is going to have to work his magic. Now, I don't think he's going to go get Blake Snell. That would be what I would love to see in a perfect world. Go ahead, give Blake Snell a 1-year deal and just pay him whatever he wants. Give him a blank check for 1 year. And maybe give him a 2-year deal to spread out some of the money and maybe give it a team option. Elias doesn't do more than 2-year deals. But the pitching staff is the key for this team, as it is for any team in Major League Baseball that wants to make a run at the World Series. I'm hoping that this team does make a move. They did trade well DL Hall. Now we see what that move has kind of done. But like I said, you get Corbin Burns, who eats up a lot of innings. I think Grayson Rodriguez will eat up a lot of innings. You have Kramer, you have Wells and Irvin. You're going to have to figure it out. And like I said, when you take away from the bullpen and add to the starting rotation, now you have to replace those arms in the bullpen. So who will go in the bullpen? Are we going to believe in Michael Baumann, Jake Webb, Brian Baker? I believe all of those guys are out of options. So if they don't perform, hit the road, Jack. Get out of here. But you're going to need them because you need arms and you don't want to wear out your bullpen in the first month of the season. So it'll be interesting. And that's why I know the team won 100 games. I kind of see and forecast the team winning less games, but being able to sustain success in the playoffs, hopefully. Now, with that being said, I think Gunnar is going to be all right. Gunnar, if you have to take the first couple of weeks of the season and you have to play DH, that is fine. We have guys that can play in the field. As long as you're healthy, I think Gunnar will be fine. I'm expecting a big year from Gunnar Henderson. But no Bradish. I like I said, if it is a sprained UCL, I think it could be a situation where he does maybe miss a start or two to start the season, and means looking like maybe April or May, best case. I don't know what they do. Do they make a trade? Do they sign Blake Snell? Do they maybe go after Jordan Montgomery, who's still out there? I can't forget about him, of the World Series Texas Rangers. What do you guys want to see? This is all about you, Birdman. Orioles fans, Flex Zone family. Sound off in the comments. Let me know who you would like to see the Orioles bring in, because they're going to need another arm. I kind of thought they may need another arm, potentially in the bullpen or in the starting rotation, just to have in case of an injury like this. Now you kind of move arms from the bullpen and you kind of have to replace them as well. What do the Orioles do? What do they need to do? What can they do with two holes in the starting rotation? Now bringing two guys in from the bullpen, and they'll now have two guys that they need to replace in the bullpen. So it's a trickle down effect. It's tough. It's unfortunate. It's a marathon sprint. I'm kind of glad we're hearing about this now, though, instead of 2-3 weeks from now when they're starting to play games and we're ramping up and looking forward and we're pretty much on the brink of the regular season, a week or two out. Maybe Bradish is ready by opening day. Thankfully, we have Corbin Burns who will start opening day, but it sucks because I was expecting Bradish to take another step to be a frontline starter. I'm expecting Means to be one of the breakout pitchers. But with Means, it's all about health. And sometimes when guys go through Tommy John, it takes them a lot of time to recover. It takes them 2 years, 2.5 years to really get back to who they were. And I'm hoping this is a small hiccup. This is a small precautionary thing that does not hinder him throughout the season. But with that being said, I'm a little worried because the pitching staff is going to be very, very, very important to this team, as it already was, and they're going to be under a big microscope to start out the season, because I really don't know what do you do here, because if you bring these guys in, I don't trust Cole Irvin personally. I don't. I really don't. Could he be better than he was last year? Yes, but from what I saw, I don't trust him. Tyler Wells, I think he's better suited personally in the bullpen, but can he be a starter? Okay, cool. Tyler Wells is what he was last year, and he's very good and underrated. But what are you doing in the bullpen now? What are you doing with other that other makeup of your pitching staff? And in my opinion, this puts a lot more pressure on Corbin Burns, on Grayson Rodriguez, on Dean Kramer to perform. Because if those guys start out slow, especially a guy like Dean Kramer, what do you do with him? The Orioles are going to have to add another arm, and I think they're going to have to add another starter because we don't know what Means is going to be long term. We don't know what Bradish's long term future is as well, because this could linger. We'll see, because how many times have we heard UCL sprains turn into something that is a tear or something that may be even, I don't know, damaged, or something that may require some type of surgery that rhymes with Jimmy Johns. I don't want to say it because I don't want to put it into the university atmosphere, but I don't like that, because we heard that from what, Batista last year, a UCL sprain, which turned into a tear, which he had to get TJ surgery. The Jimmy John surgery. I'm not going to say the name because I don't like it, and it just seems inevitable with pitchers in today's game. And the Orioles were so predominantly healthy, especially at major positions last year, outside of a few injuries here and there, that unfortunately the injury bug may bite them a little bit more this year. But what can you do? I mean, you can't have everything your way. Same thing that makes you laugh, makes you cry. The Orioles are still a good team. Now, the pitching staff is going to be magnified a little more, but I'm going to see what Mike Elias can do. He has time. He has a month and a half before the regular season starts. He could go sign a Blake Snell. He could go sign a Jordan Montgomery. He could make another underrated personnel move where he trades for a guy, as they do have a plethora of prospects. And real quick, the Samuel Basayo thing. I'm glad they didn't trade Basayo. I think Basayo is big time. Looks like he's still going to get his at bat at DH, but he won't be throwing until April. Hey, let's take it slow with this guy. We don't need to rush him. He's our potential catcher of the future, because Adley could move to first base or DH, and we could move things around. Or Basayo could be a DH first base type. I like the upside from this kid. He gets better every year. He's still very young. International prospect. Glad they didn't trade him. Thankfully, with this situation, it'll scare teams off from wanting to trade for him, so we can keep him in the organization, because I think he's big time. I think he could be a big time power bat for us moving forward. And he's only going to get better with age. But sound off in the comments, guys. How are you feeling with the news today about the Orioles injuries, multiple injuries? How bad is PTS team? John dealing with the injury we had from Tommy John and Gunnar Henderson as well, and Samuel Basayo in the minor leagues. But I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to be doom and gloom. I'm going to stay positive. I think the Orioles still are going to be a very good team, but I think they have to weather the storm. Now, if they start out a little slow, Berlin, don't panic. It's a long season, a marathon, not a sprint. But Mike Elias, let's see what he does. Let's see what him and the Rubensteins and the Angeloses do. You've seen they are willing to make moves to better this team, and maybe they may have to go spend the money to go get one of those free agents. And I want them to, because I still think they needed another arm, whether that be a starter or a bullpen piece. Jordan Montgomery's out there, a guy who's proven in the playoffs, won a World Series with Rangers. And Blake Snell, two-time Cy Young winner in the American League. He won the American League Cy Young with Tampa and won the NL Cy Young in San Diego. He's big time. I love him. He's a lefty. He can come in and be that big presence, big time, big game pitcher, and put him with Corbin Burns. You got a nice 1-2 punch with Grayson Rodriguez as well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. God's favorite host signing off. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new. Appreciate all and welcome all our new subscribers. We do Orioles content throughout the year. Swing for the fences. Make sure you hit stick that like button. Go ahead and strike it out. Leave us a thumbs up. Let us know what you like, didn't like on the video. Sound off in the comment section. It's yours. Hit the bell to know when all videos drop for the Orioles, Ravens, live streams, podcasts, and much more here on the Touchdown Podcast. Only place giving you your Orioles coverage how you want it and you need it. Not the best of news I wanted to break today, but we will have position previews. We will have season previews coming. Just be patient. The season is ramping up. Spring training, as we know, can throw a lot of news at you at one time. This is only day one. So I'm going to give it some time, see how things play out, see what the Orioles do in the next week or two, and you'll get that content here from me. Anything you want to see from me on the channel, don't hesitate to let me know as well. I'm signing off, guys. Thank you for watching. Injuries are unfortunately part of the sports world, but I trust in Mike Elias to have depth. Let's see what he does to right the ship. And it's early on, so these guys could heal and be back just in time. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you later. Birdland, let's see what they do.